What if I told you there was something simple you could do every day to please God? Something that doesn't require much sacrifice, but has the power to change your life from the inside out. Would you be curious? How often have you asked yourself, what does God want from me? Or am I on the right track? Perhaps you believe that pleasing God is something distant, complicated, or reserved for a select few. But what if the secret lies in the little choices you make when you wake up? Today, I'm going to show you the way that brings peace, purpose, and a real connection with the divine. But beware, what will be revealed here could change the way you see your life. Stay with me to the end, because the last part of this message will reveal a truth that few realize, and it may be exactly what you need to hear today. Have you ever wondered if there is something simple, almost invisible to the eye, but powerful enough to touch God's heart? People often imagine that pleasing the Father requires great deeds or extraordinary sacrifices. But the truth is that in every moment you have before you, small choices that can bring you closer to God's presence. It's not about grand gestures or elaborate words, but about attitudes that come from a heart that is sincere and open to love. As I watched the crowd searching for answers, I saw that many were tired of rigid rules and expected to find only judgment in God. But that's not why I came. I wanted to show that the Father is love, and that every act of kindness, every pure thought, and every conscientious choice becomes a gift offered to Him. You don't have to change the world in one day, but you can change someone's moment with a smile, a word of encouragement, or even the silence that listens without judgment. Imagine an ordinary day. The alarm goes off. You get up in a hurry, and before you even leave the house, you're faced with impatience, anxious thoughts, and the rush of the world. What if you decided right now to take a breath, give thanks for the gift of life, and start the day by offering your actions to the Father? It's not an obligation. It's a choice that transforms what would otherwise be routine into an encounter with peace. There was a man who, every day on his way to work, passed a woman sitting on the sidewalk. For months he looked away, preoccupied with his problems. One day, for no apparent reason, he stopped and said a simple "good morning" with a smile. The woman, her eyes watering, said, "I didn't think anyone else saw me." In that moment he realized that small attitudes are big in God's eyes. Perhaps you are surrounded by opportunities like this, just waiting for you to look around with different eyes. Daily choices are like seeds planted in fertile soil. Some sprout quickly, others take time, but all bear fruit. When you choose to forgive rather than take revenge, to listen rather than interrupt, or to offer help when it would be easier to turn away, you are watering the garden of your soul and pleasing the Creator who dwells within you. Don't expect to always feel ready. Sometimes the act of doing good comes before the feeling, and surprisingly, it is in the gesture that the heart is formed. I've seen many people ask, "How can I do God's will?" And the answer is closer than you think. It's in the way you speak to your family, in the way you treat those who disagree with you, in the care you take with your word, which can either build up or hurt. Even when no one is looking, the Father sees what is going on in the secret of your heart. And it is in those quiet moments that the decisions take on value. There are days when irritations seem inevitable and trials multiply. But that's when the character shaped by the awareness of divine love is revealed. It's not about never making a mistake, but when you fall, choosing to get up and try again. The Father doesn't expect perfection, but He appreciates every sincere effort to be better today than you were yesterday. Ask yourself, what can I do now to bring light to someone, even if it's myself? This simple question can be a beacon in the midst of uncertainty. How many times have you missed opportunities to say kind words or help someone because you were distracted by your own worries? Life is short, and every encounter, every conversation, every gesture is a chance to touch a heart, including your own. And when you choose the good, even in small situations, you become a living expression of the love I have taught. Throughout your journey, you will realize that pleasing God is not a burden, but a freedom. It's like taking a weight off your shoulders and realizing that living with awareness, love, and truth is the way to a peace that is not dependent on circumstances. It's not about doing things to be seen. It's about being someone who wants to spread good, because you understand that this is the reflection of someone who lives in love. And so when you begin to see the value of small choices, something inside you changes. Your vision expands, your heart warms, and suddenly things that have gone unnoticed become opportunities to be light. And as this awareness blossoms, it's only natural that gratitude for the small daily blessings arises. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to get used to daily blessings? The sun that warms you, the air that fills your lungs, the food on your table. How often do these gifts go unnoticed in the hustle and bustle? The truth is that when the heart is closed to gratitude, life loses its luster, and what could be a cause for joy becomes just another ignored detail. But when you choose to be grateful, even for small gestures, something powerful happens. Your view of the world changes. Not because circumstances have suddenly changed, but because your gaze has begun to see beyond the obvious. I remember a man who, in the midst of difficulties, always began his day by saying, "Thank you, Father, for another chance." He didn't wait for everything to be perfect before he saw the value of life. And you know what's amazing? The more he gave thanks, the more reasons he found to stay grateful. That doesn't mean the problems went away, but the way he faced them became easier. Gratitude doesn't just change what's around you, it changes who you are on the inside. Some people say, but how do you give thanks when things aren't going well? The answer lies in recognizing that even in storms there are hidden blessings. A challenge can reveal strengths you didn't know you had. Loss can make room for something new. Sometimes what seems like an obstacle is actually a nudge from the Father to discover a better way. Giving thanks at such times is not pretending it doesn't hurt, but recognizing that even in pain there is a greater purpose. And kindness? Kindness. It's like a gentle breeze that refreshes those who receive it, as well as those who give it. How often have you felt your heart warm when you helped someone without expecting anything in return? Kindness doesn't need big stages. It happens in the details. In the neighbor who receives a smile, the colleague who hears words of encouragement, the stranger who is treated with respect. Each act, no matter how small, has the power to spread like ripples on a calm lake. There was a woman who left a note of encouragement on her son's coffee table every morning. Simple words like, "You can do it. I trust you." Time passed, and the boy grew up believing in those messages. One day, as an adult, he told his mother, "On the hardest days, it was those notes that kept me going." You see, what was a simple gesture for her became the strength that sustained her son through difficult times. That is kindness. A seed that germinates at the right time. And what about you? How many times have you had the opportunity to spread kindness, but been overcome by haste? It's easy to think that small acts are insignificant, but they are the ones that build bridges between people. A hug given at the right time, a sincere thank you, an ear to listen without interrupting, all of these are nourishment for the soul of both the receiver and the giver. And when these acts come from a grateful heart, they become even more powerful. The Father rejoices not in gestures made for show, but in those born of true love. When you choose to act with kindness, even without recognition, you please God in a way that words cannot describe. For kindness is the practical expression of love, and love is the essence of the divine that dwells in everyone. Don't wait until you have everything to say thank you, or wait for an extraordinary reason to be kind. Make it part of who you are. Some people have the idea that life only gets better when big changes happen. But what if the change you're hoping for starts with the gratitude and kindness you can practice today? A grateful heart sees opportunity where others see problems. It finds light where many see darkness. And kindness, it is the bridge that connects distant hearts, the balm that heals invisible wounds. Together, these two virtues have the power to change not only your world, but that of everyone around you. If you begin to pay attention, you'll find that when you are more grateful, you complain less. Practicing kindness fills your soul with a contentment that no material achievement can provide. It's not something imposed, it's a choice. And that choice, when made daily, transforms the way you live. The peace you seek is not in great deeds, but in those small gestures repeated with love and truth. And as gratitude takes root and kindness flourishes, the heart opens to realize something even deeper, that the true connection to the divine is not only in the words you speak, but in the silence you hear. We live in a time when the noise never seems to stop. There are voices everywhere, advice, criticism, demands, messages that invade the mind with worry. It's easy to get lost in this whirlwind and forget that there is one place where peace reigns, within you. The connection with the divine doesn't shout, it doesn't force itself. It whispers quietly and calmly, waiting for you to allow yourself to listen. The problem is that in the midst of the hustle and bustle and distractions, many people shy away from that stillness, afraid of what they might find. But it is in that space of silence that the answer they seek lies. There was a man who was tormented by doubt and fear of the future. He tried to find meaning in conversations, books, and even other people's opinions, but the more he looked outside, the more empty he felt. Until one day, tired of so many unanswered questions, he sat down alone and just fell into silence. At first, his restless mind screamed, thoughts ran wild, but little by little, an inexplicable peace took over his being. There was no audible voice, no great revelation, but a deep feeling that he was not alone. In that silence, he found more than he was looking for. He felt embraced by the Creator himself. I've always taught that the kingdom of heaven is within everyone. And what does that mean? That you don't need special places or complicated rituals to connect with God. The divine presence is within you, waiting for you to stop for a moment, breathe, and allow the noise of the world to fade away, if only for a moment. It is in this inner space, away from distractions, that you can hear not only God's voice, but also the truth of your own heart. Perhaps you're wondering, but how do you quiet your mind in the midst of so many problems? The key is not to fight the thoughts, but to observe them without becoming attached to them. Imagine clouds passing through the sky. They come and go, but the sky remains. So it is with your consciousness. Thoughts arise, emotions appear, but behind it all there is a part of you that is pure, serene, and connected to the Father. When you recognize this, you begin to realize that peace is not something that comes from outside. It is born when you stop identifying with the storms that pass. Silence is not empty. On the contrary, it is full of answers. In the hustle and bustle of life, you often make hasty decisions, driven by fear or the pressure of the moment. But if you allow yourself to stop, even for a few minutes a day, you clear your mind and make room for divine wisdom to manifest. How many rash decisions could have been avoided if you had stopped and listened to what your heart, guided by love, was saying before you acted? There are times when silence is worth 1,000 words, like when you look at the sunset, or when you look at the sea in silence and feel an inexplicable calm. It's on these occasions that the soul remembers something essential. You are part of something greater, and even when the world seems to be falling apart around you, there is a loving force that holds everything together, including you. Trusting in this presence is like resting in safe arms after an exhausting day. The Father is not distant. He doesn't require cries or exuberant gestures to be heard. Sometimes all he asks is that you stop and say softly. And in that simple act, a presence, a silent dialogue begins. You may not hear words, but you will feel a relief, a comfort that the explanations of the world cannot give. This is the language of the Spirit, more felt than understood, more lived than explained. Life, with its demands and distractions, will try to keep you away from this silence. There will always be a message to answer, a problem to solve, a noise to get your attention. But ask yourself, what is more valuable, to remain lost in the noise or to find the peace that strengthens me? The choice is yours, and believe me, taking the time to be with yourself in silence is not a waste of time. It's a reconnection with what is truest within. When silence becomes part of your day, even the challenges seem smaller. The words that come out of your mouth become kinder, the choices wiser, and life lighter. For listening to God is listening to love, and when this love occupies your heart, it overflows into everything and everyone around you. Thus, silence ceases to be the absence of sound and becomes presence, the presence of the divine within you. And when you realize this inner peace, a natural desire to share it with others begins to emerge, not with empty words, but with gestures, with the way you live. For when the soul is at peace, the heart opens. There are pains that settle in the heart and don't seem to want to leave. Harsh words, betrayals, injustices. Everyone has felt hurt by someone, and in those moments, the first reaction is to shut down, to put up walls, to harbor resentment. It seems easier to hold on to the hurt than to let it go. But what many people don't realize is that resentment doesn't hold the other person back. It holds you back. It's like holding a hot coal with the intention of throwing it at someone. It's the person holding the coal who gets burned first. As I spoke to the crowds, I saw that many were carrying invisible weights, living in past pain that prevented them from enjoying the present. Forgiveness is not denying the pain or forgetting what happened. It's choosing not to let the wound continue to bleed. You may think, but he hurt me deeply. And I say, forgiveness is not saying that what was done was right, but it is freeing yourself from the burden of that pain. Forgiveness is a gift that you give to yourself. There was a woman who, years after a major disappointment, still talked about it with anger in her eyes. She believed that holding on to the hurt was a way of not forgetting the lesson. But what was really going on? She wasn't living in the present, a prisoner of a past she couldn't change. One day, hearing about the power of forgiveness, she decided to take a step. Not because the other person deserved it, but because she deserved peace. It was a process, it took time, but when she finally let go, she felt a relief she hadn't known in years. The Father, in His infinite compassion, never expects you to carry the weight of hurts alone. He offers forgiveness as the path to healing. But it takes courage to walk it, courage to look within and realize that anger, however justified it may seem, only prolongs the pain. How many nights of sleep have been lost because of resentment? How many relationships have fallen apart because you have not given in to the act of forgiveness? And more importantly, how many blessings have been missed because of hearts closed by bitterness? Forgiveness is about making room for new experiences to flourish. It's not about blindly trusting the person who hurt you again, but about not letting the wound define who you are. Remember, the person who benefits most from forgiveness is you. Your mind becomes lighter, your heart more at peace, and when your heart is at peace, life flows more harmoniously. Some people say, "I'm trying, but I can't forget." And who says, you have to forget? Forgiveness doesn't require that you erase the memory, but that the pain associated with it loses its power. It's like a scar. It may be there, but it no longer hurts. You look at it and remember that you have overcome it, that you have gone beyond what you thought you were capable of. Forgiveness is also an act of trust in the divine. It's saying, "Father, I place this pain in your hands. Take care of what I can't." And in doing so, you make room for the peace that surpasses all understanding to make a home in your life. It's not weakness, it's strength. The strength of those who choose not to be held hostage by the past. The strength of those who understand that life is too precious to be lived on the basis of old wounds. And you know what's most transformative? When you forgive, you inspire others to do the same. Your gesture of forgiveness may be the light that someone else needs to release their bonds. The world is full of wounded people who spread pain because they don't know how to deal with their own scars. By forgiving, you break the cycle and plant a seed of love and compassion. Pleasing God is not just about words spoken in prayer, but gestures that reflect the love He teaches. And there is no more powerful gesture than forgiving when everything inside you is begging you not to. Because then you're not just acting for yourself, you're acting as an instrument of something greater. And when you allow yourself that release, you find that forgiveness is lighter than the burden you were carrying before. As the heart frees itself from the weight of hurt, it opens to perceive something that has always been there. The small blessings of the present, the possibilities of starting over, and the awareness that every choice made with love is a seed planted for tomorrow. Everything you do, every word that comes out of your mouth, every thought you nurture, every attitude you take, is a seed planted in the soil of life. People often wonder why certain situations keep repeating themselves or why they face unexpected difficulties. But have they ever stopped to think about what they have sown over the days? Today's reality was born out of past choices, and what you decide now will shape tomorrow. Nothing happens by chance. Every action, no matter how small, bears fruit, sweet or bitter. There was a man who used to complain about everything. It was sunny. It was too hot. When it rained, it was a nuisance. At work, he criticized his colleagues. At home, he was impatient with his family. Over time, he noticed that people began to avoid him, and life seemed to get harder every day. One morning, tired of this cycle, he met an elderly neighbor who, with a gentle smile, said, "Have you ever tried planting gratitude to harvest peace?" This simple question sparked something in him. Gradually, he began to change the way he spoke and acted. Instead of complaining, he gave thanks. Instead of criticizing, he offered help. It didn't happen overnight, but over time his life changed. Where once there was loneliness, there was friendship. Where he once saw problems, he now saw opportunities. Life returns what you give to the world. If you sow kindness, you will reap affection. If you sow understanding, you will reap respect. But if you sow anger, mistrust, or selfishness, those fruits will inevitably appear. Ask yourself, what have I cultivated in my relationships? What do my words leave in the hearts of others? How do my actions affect those around me? These questions are not meant to judge, but to bring awareness. It is in the present that you have the power to choose new seeds. The return is not always immediate. Sometimes you do good and don't see any visible results, and that can be discouraging. But remember that nature has its time. A fruit tree doesn't bear fruit the day after it's planted. It takes patience, care, and perseverance. The seed sprouts when it's ready. So it is with the actions you plant. It may take days, months, or even years to notice the fruits, but they will come. The question is, what kind of fruit do you want to reap? I said that the one who plants in the Spirit will reap life and peace. This means that if your choices are guided by love, truth, and goodness, you are building a solid foundation for a future of serenity. And it's not just about big gestures. It's often the small daily attitudes that add up to make the biggest difference. Oh, sincere greeting, an unexpected act of kindness, forgiveness extended. All are seeds planted in fertile soil. There's also the cultivation of your thoughts. What you nurture in your mind takes root in your heart, and sooner or later manifests itself in words and actions. If you constantly think about fear or lack, it will be reflected in the way you live. On the other hand, cultivating thoughts of hope, faith, and gratitude paves the way for a lighter, more abundant life. It's not about ignoring challenges, it's about choosing how to respond to them. What if you find that not all of the seeds you've sown so far have been good ones? Don't despair. There's always time to replant. Life is generous and offers new opportunities at every dawn. Though it's not what's left behind that matters, but what you choose to do from now on. Don't dwell on past mistakes. Use them as a learning curve to do things differently. The soil of existence is always ready to receive new seeds. It's up to you to choose which ones to grow. You may not see the fruit immediately, but someone around you will feel the difference. Your gesture of kindness may inspire someone else to do the same. Your words of encouragement may be the impetus someone needs to not give up. Life is like a shared field. Your seeds affect not only you, but also those who walk beside you. Sow with awareness, with love, with the intention of spreading light. And when you look back one day and see the fruit that has grown, be it peace, friendship, love, or fulfillment, you will feel the joy of having chosen well the seeds you have sown. For what you plant today will nourish your soul tomorrow. And there is no greater satisfaction than reaping the sweet fruit of choices made with a heart that is aligned with good. So as I close this reflection, let me remind you, every day is a new field. Every word, a grain. Every attitude, a drop of water or a stone in the path. The choice is always in your hands, and by planting love and kindness, what blooms is a life in harmony, full of peace and purpose. You hold in your hands the power to transform your life, not tomorrow, not when circumstances improve, but now. Every word you speak, every choice you make, every seed you plant is a reflection of what is in your heart. The way to please God is not hidden in great deeds, but in daily choices, in small gestures of love, in the willingness to forgive, in the ability to give thanks, and in the choice to listen to the voice that whispers within you. Follow the path of love. The Father doesn't demand perfection. He rejoices when you choose day after day to be better than you were yesterday. When instead of resisting you offer peace, when in the face of pride you choose humility, when in silence you listen to the truth that only the soul knows, make no mistake, your actions reverberate throughout the universe and return to you in the form of fruit that will nourish your soul or weigh on your shoulders. The choice is yours. It always has been. It always will be. Today you have heard words meant not only to touch your ears, but to reach your heart. May they not be lost at the end of this video, but flourish in your life, transforming your days and illuminating your path. Because in the end, pleasing God means living with conscience, love, and truth. And this path, though challenging, is the only one that leads to true peace. May love walk with you and illuminate your every step. May the peace that dwells within you blossom in your days and spread wherever you go. And remember, you are never alone.